Listen, we understand that building a roster in a salary-capped league can be rather challenging to strike a balance in. Football is as complex as it gets schematically, and it can be hard to predict if a guy will be able to sustain his success in a new system, or heck, even in the same one as they age. It is a physically demanding sport, and it's not uncommon to see players fade faster than their contract values. But let's face it, there have been quite a few instances where the writing was, quite frankly, on the wall for everyone to see even as the deal was being made. And to make matters worse, usually these errant deals come with a hidden cost of not being able to retain other talented players because of all the money that's been sunk into a bad deal. So, without further ado, let's take a look around the NFL and call out 10 of the worst times that an NFL team shot itself in the foot by paying the wrong guy. New York Jets, Sam Cowart, 2002. This one still stings for Jets fans because it wasn't just about who they brought in, it was about who they let walk. You see, after the 2001 season, the Jets had a choice, and like they usually do, they chose wrong. Either re-sign James Ferrier, their steady linebacker who'd been a first-round pick and was finally coming into his own, or chase the big name on the market. General manager Terry Bradway opted for door number 2, inking Sam Cowart to a 6-year, $31 million deal. Cowart was a 2-time Pro Bowler in Buffalo, but a torn Achilles in 2001 robbed him of the burst and range that made him special. And while he certainly had moments in New York, he never once sniffed Pro Bowl form again. Meanwhile, Ferrier went to Pittsburgh and became the heart and soul of a championship defense. Under Dick LeBeau, Ferrier blossomed into an All-Pro, the captain of a ferocious Steelers front seven. There he earned 2 Pro Bowl nods, a first-team All-Pro selection in 2004, and helped deliver 2 Super Bowl rings to Pittsburgh. All the while, the Jets were stuck paying big money to a linebacker that could hardly stay on the field, let alone perform at that level. Dallas Cowboys, Demarcus Lawrence, 2019. Sometimes loyalty costs you, and the Cowboys found that out the hard way in 2019 when they handed Demarcus Lawrence a 5-year, $105 million extension with $65 million guaranteed. At the time, Lawrence was coming off back-to-back Pro Bowl seasons and looked like a cornerstone of the Dallas defense, but his production quickly tailed off, and he never even eclipsed the double-digit sack threshold ever again. Meanwhile, Robert Quinn, who they let walk the following offseason, in large part because of Lawrence's huge cap hit, racked up 20.5 sacks over the next 2 seasons for the Bears, earning second-team All-Pro honors in 2021 before nagging injuries pushed him into retirement at the conclusion of the 2022 season. Philadelphia Eagles, Demarco Murray, 2015. Sometimes, the worst move isn't just about who you pay, it's about who you give up in order to do it. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, that nightmare came a-calling in 2015. Chip Kelly, in his infinite wisdom, decided that LaShawn McCoy, the franchise's all-time leading rusher, a fan favorite and still in his prime, was apparently expendable. Partially, it now seems, by design. He shipped Shady off to Buffalo and signed Demarco Murray to a 5-year, $40 million deal fresh off of his monster 1,845-yard season in Dallas. Now on paper, it looked like Philly was swapping one superstar for another, but McCoy's shiftiness and versatility were a perfect fit for Philly's offense, while Murray was built to run behind Dallas's bulldozer offensive line. Put him in Kelly's scheme, and well, it was a bit of a disaster. Murray's production cratered in Philly, just 702 yards in 2015. Meanwhile, McCoy went to Buffalo and kept right on cooking, as he racked up 895 yards and 3 scores in 2015, despite playing just 12 games. Mr. Cut on Dime then followed it up with 1,267 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2016 and another 1,100-plus yard season in 2017, marking 3 straight Pro Bowl years in Buffalo. Meanwhile, the Eagles were stuck watching their big splash free agent burn out and be jettisoned to Tennessee. New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr, 2023. For years, they have restructured, repushed, and reborrowed money like a gambler pawning his watch to stay at the table. And nothing illustrates that insanity more than the Derek Carr contract. 2023, the Saints signed Carr to a 4-year deal that looked manageable. But with the way that they structured and restructured the deal, the numbers ballooned to massive cap hits. The collateral damage on this one was Zach Bond, the versatile linebacker who was one of the Saints' more intriguing defensive pieces, coming into his own as a hybrid pass rusher and coverage guy. But when his rookie deal expired, New Orleans had no room left to pay him. The Eagles, however, did. With a defined role and a talented defense, Bond exploded, blossoming into one of the NFL's premier linebackers, wrecking games off the edge, erasing tight ends in coverage, and anchoring the middle of an Eagles defense that became downright nasty. Oh boy, nothing like losing an all-pro talent for a glorified game manager that could hardly even handle that in the advanced stages of his career. New York Giants, Daniel Jones, 2023. Sometimes the worst mistake a front office can make is paying for one good year like it's the new normal, when everyone else can clearly see that it was an anomaly or a confluence of factors, not growth for the individual player. And that's exactly what the Giants did with Daniel Jones. Fresh off of a 2022 season where Brian Daboll squeezed every ounce of juice out of Jones's legs and safe throws, New York convinced themselves that, hey, they had a franchise quarterback. So they slapped him with a 4-year, $160 million extension in March of 2023, with $82 million being guaranteed in the first 2 seasons. The only problem? Everybody else knew what the Giants were pretending not to see. Jones was not suddenly elite. He was a middling passer with durability concerns propped up by a scheme, defense, and Saquon Barkley's legs. And here's the kicker. In paying Jones, they let Barkley walk, with, of course, the salt in the wound being, this was all done for the whole world to see on the now infamous Hard Knocks tapes. Yep, the face of their offense, their best player, and the only reason defenses respected their attack was allowed to leave because the front office chose to funnel money into Jones. Barkley went on to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles and instantly became one of the most dangerous backs in the game again, leading Philly to a Super Bowl championship. Truly a Giants fan's worst nightmare. Meanwhile, Jones regressed, battled injuries, and never lived up to the $40 million per year price tag. New Orleans Saints, Michael Thomas, 2019. On paper, this one looked like a slam dunk. Michael Thomas was coming off a season for the ages, 149 catches, an NFL record, and the kind of production that makes front offices trip over themselves to write checks. And, well, the Saints did just that, handing him a 5-year, $100 million deal in 2019, making him the highest paid wide receiver in football at the time. But what felt like locking down a generational wideout quickly became one of the most crippling deals in the NFL. Thomas's body betrayed him almost immediately. High ankle sprains, hamstrings, a never-ending cascade of injuries. Between 2020 and 2023, the man played just 20 games. That bloated deal forced the Saints to make some hard choices elsewhere. One of those was letting Trey Hendrickson walk in 2021. He was coming off a breakout 13.5 sack season in New Orleans, but the front office, strapped for cap space and already suffocating under Thomas's contract, just couldn't pony up. But Cincinnati could. Hendrickson signed with the Bengals, and all he did was become one of the most consistent pass rushers in all of football. Double-digit sacks in 3 out of 4 seasons, including a league-leading 17.5 in 2024. Buffalo Bills, Von Miller, 2022. Sometimes teams talk themselves into the one missing piece theory, and when the Bills inked Von Miller to a 6-year, $120 million deal in 2022, that was exactly the pitch. This was supposed to be the move that finally got Josh Allen and Buffalo over the hump. A proven pass rusher with Super Bowl rings on both hands, Miller was the splash free agent who was supposed to tilt the AFC arms race. And at first, he looked disruptive off the edge and gave Buffalo fans a taste of what they'd been promised. But then reality hit. An ACL tear ended his age 33 season, and when he came back in 2023, he was a shell of his former self. So much so that by mid-season, the Bills could really only use the future Hall of Famer as a rotational piece. And here's what really stings about this. By paying Miller, Buffalo couldn't keep linebacker Tremaine Edmunds the following year, who had been growing in his role on that defense since he was drafted. Edmunds instead signed with the Bears, where he has outperformed Miller and continued to thrive. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 2024. It is challenging figuring out what to do when you have that good but not great quarterback. You know, the guy who can elevate your team to playoff contention, but everyone and their mother knows that they just aren't made of the stuff that it takes to hoist a Lombardi trophy. And, well, that's exactly what happened with the Dallas Cowboys in 2024 when they handed Dak Prescott a 4-year, $240 million extension, including $231 million being guaranteed, making him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history at the time. Now granted, Dak is not a bad player, but come on, he is not worth that astronomical price tag. And the downstream effect of it should be more than enough reason for Cowboys fans to resent him, as he has sponged up enough resources that the Cowboys have had to part ways with other key contributors, including a guy who many consider to be a generational talent rushing the passer off the edge, Micah Parsons. Yeah, that is the real kicker here. You see, in jacking Dak's contract sky high, they bled cap space like an old faucet and lost the heart and soul of their defense in the process. With Prescott's deal eating up the money in Jerry Jones's wallet, the Cowboys couldn't find a number that would make him re-sign. So negotiations hit a wall, and eventually Jones pulled the plug, trading Parsons to Green Bay, where he became the highest paid non-QB in the league. That contract wasn't an anchor, it was a grenade. They lit it and watched as their perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate walked out the door. San Francisco 49ers, Brandon Aiyuk, 2024. Sometimes desperation makes you do dumb things. For the 49ers, it was handing Brandon Aiyuk a 4-year, $120 million contract with $76 million being guaranteed to get him into camp, making him one of the top 8 highest paid wide receivers in all of football. Now, on paper, this looked like a team securing its future. Aiyuk had back-to-back seasons over 1,000 yards, including 1,342 in 2023. But here's the problem. He just wasn't that guy. He was not Justin Jefferson. He was not Jamar Chase. At the time, there were even people saying that he wasn't the best wideout on his own team. Yet the Niners caved after a holdout and a trade request, and they paid him like an elite talent at the position. The deal went from questionable to disastrous in 2 acts. Shortly after signing, Aiyuk tore his ACL and MCL, taking him out of action for 2024 and putting his 2025 season in doubt. And to make matters worse, it wasn't just a financial straitjacket. It hurt beyond the cap sheet because of how it cracked that locker room. Deebo Samuel, the Swiss Army knife of Kyle Shanahan's offense, was already looking for security of his own. Instead, he watched the front office funnel money to Aiyuk, a receiver with flashes of brilliance, but nowhere near Deebo's versatility or impact. The end result? Samuel was shipped off to Washington, where he is already thriving with Jaden Daniels and the new-look Commanders. Meanwhile, the 49ers are left without their emotional leader on offense and tied to a contract that they regret more every single week that Aiyuk spends in rehab. Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, 2022. There are bad contracts, and then there's the Deshaun Watson deal. You see, in 2022, the Cleveland Browns made one of the boldest, most reckless moves in all of NFL history, trading a king's ransom to Houston and then handing Watson a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract. That's right, fully guaranteed. The first of its kind in league history. And for a guy with serious question marks, both in terms of health and in terms of his off-the-field issues. As we all know now, the embattled quarterback was never able to regain his form. And that massive price tag left a wake of destruction on the Browns roster for years to come, including shoving out the guy who had actually delivered their best football in over 2 decades, Baker Mayfield. Was Mayfield perfect? No, not even close. But man, he took the Browns to the playoffs in 2020, won them their first postseason game since 1994, and in the time since, well, he's turned into a legit franchise quarterback in Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, Deshaun has delivered less than nothing in Cleveland. But hey, what do you think the worst instance of a team paying the wrong guy was? Do you think your team has ever made that mistake? Who do you think we're right on here? Who do you think we're wrong about? Was there anything that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.